Here we are at the HSM, and let's drill into just one of my flash systems. This is the flash system A9001 that's named, as you just saw. I can see that I have a latency in IOPS right near of nearly 17,000 IOPS, and my latency is less than 1 millisecond. And I'm almost at 9 to 1 for my compression and dedupe savings. Now, if I take a look at my system info, I see that I have a quality of service defined, and it's applied to one particular pool. On this particular pool, I've named it bronze, and let's actually take a look into that. Here it is. I have set an IOPS limit on this particular quality of service. As you can see, let's narrow it even further down. So I've just applied even a further restrictive policy. If I go back to my dashboard, let's take a look at the effect that has. So now, because Oracle Bronze has even more of a limit, I'm introducing more latency. Notice what has just happened here. My latency has jumped up, and I am limiting the IOPS on those particular volumes inside that particular quality of service pool. You've seen this in the tooltip, and now let's actually go into the actual specifics. Here we are right now for the A9000, and as you can see, because of that change, I have now increased all of my latencies. And as you can see, my current latency has stabilized now with that new particular policy, nearly 160 milliseconds. If I change my filter now to things with Oracle, as you can see, I can now take a look at that host name. So now I am actually going to my host that's defined as Oracle. Let's take a look at those IOPS, latency and bandwidth. As you can see, they are now populated. I'll bring that up in a more detailed fashion. So again, we'll take a look at latencies. Notice that the quality of service is not defined directly to this particular host here. This is very key. We have many different ways of applying quality of service. Now, take a look. I can see with this one host I have 2 volumes. Here are my 2 volumes. They are highlighted. I can see the IOPS, the latency, and the bandwidth. Notice that they are showing what we expect. But again, they do not have a quality of service applied to them. If I bring up more of the statistics, you'll be able to see this. So here are my 2 volumes now. You can see that how they are charting, and they are averaging 156 plus milliseconds of latency. And now if I want to add a further statistic to take a look at, I will actually look at the mapped host latency, not just the volumes down below. So I've now confirmed that both my host as well as the volumes are doing something very similar with their latencies. And now I can actually take a look at the historic latencies on both. You can see that at the same time I have made my change on that quality of service, it actually has done to both. And you can see with that lock icon that I can actually put them in lockstep. Now then, by zooming in, as you can see, I can take a look at other things going on. So now I'm going to look at my system historic latencies, and I can bring up other options as well. I can take a look at the block size, and I can look at any particular range all the way up through an entire year. Notice in lockstep now, ever since I made that quality of service policy change, all of my latencies went up as expected, because as you saw, I am limiting the IOPS. So because of those limits on the IOPS, my latencies must increase. So let's just see if this is on reads or if it's on particular misses. And as you can see, again, very consistent here on my system. My current IOPS are hanging out around 200 IOPS and less than 160 milliseconds there on my current latencies. And on the bandwidth down below, about 3.5 megabytes per second. So I can close all of these charts. As you can see, live updates. And back to my volumes. And again, no quality of service was applied at the volume level or the horse level, but take a look. On my pool level, that is where the quality of service was applied, which is what was affecting those particular IOPS and latencies. As you can see also in the left-hand side, if I now put back that 0 and click apply, again, this quality of service applied to the entire pool. As you can see on the upper right there, pools 1, Oracle Bronze. Now let me go back. You can actually see that those two volumes, and notice my latency has returned back to normal, as well as many, many more thousands of IOPS have been allowed because that quality of service is now enabled up to 10,000 IOPS. Take a look. As you can see, I have now less than 10,000 IOPS down below. I can see those two volumes. Each volume is doing approximately 9,300 IOPS. And then up here, using the mapped host, I can see that the host itself is doing less than 1 millisecond. And this is all available through our health, as well as how we want to configure the tips as well as the thresholds. For example, on this particular tip, I can see that a host is connected to less than 4 of my grid modules. This could affect your performance. If I go back to this, I can actually see it is my actual Oracle host. And I only have it as 2 modules here, Module 13 and Module 12. Best practices would be to have it talk to more than one particular module, if not more than 4 particular modules, so it has excellent pathing. Here's my 11 volumes now. If I want to delete these volumes which are not being used, I can click on OK. I've decided not to. Here's all of my alerts that I can actually do some actions on. For example, I had some InfiniBand errors there. Back to the dashboard. As you can see, I'll go back to my system info. As you saw before, the quality of service down below. Then I have one mirrored volume. I can see all of my events. Here's 600 events out of 36,000. And as you can see, I can adjust the filter here for my events. What am I looking for? A particular time, a code, a severity. And in this case, I will find events with a major severity code. And obviously I can see where some network links are down on September 28th. I can export this as a CSV. Notice down below in the lower left, I have downloaded that as a CSV, so I can do something with that. If I go back to all my systems, in this case on the HSM, I've just defined this one particular A9000. I can see that the system has one host on it, that it actually has 2 other systems defined to it as targets. You can see that I have connected a Gen 4, but I'm not monitoring it. I can take a look at the connectivity details. So my flash system A9000 to a Gen 4 XIV. You can see down below the IOPS, latency, and bandwidth. Back to the dashboard, and as you can see now, I have enabled all of my particular systems. I have 4, including one that is an off-premise Spectrum Accelerate. If I go back to my alerts, you can actually see that the Gen 3 has almost full pool, and that's why that threshold is there. So I can act on this. There's my alerting. You can actually see the gauge, the dial right there, being right there at the yellow under its physical usage. Can I change this? Absolutely. I can click under Actions, or I can click inside the actual particular pool size. As you can see, I'm going to just change the threshold now. So I can change that custom threshold. As you can see, I now have the star. I've changed it to 85. I've clicked Apply. Notice what immediately happens. I have moved back the needle on that gauge so that it actually does not have that as an alert anymore. Again, by adjusting the thresholds to my business units, I've been able to tailor the HSM to my business needs. Here we are on that A9000. You can see that I can actually go into each individual system or module, and I can find out the status of individual components, in this case, the spectrum accelerant. So I'm now clicking on my XIV Gen 3. You can actually see the modules here.